that. Transition out. What is up, guys? This is the KHAOS. I'm your host, Kyle, followed up with my co-host, Dan.
What up?
For those of you who have never watched the KHAOS before, this is our show where we pretty much go about all the gaming and tech news that happen throughout the week, and we share our opinions on that. We may have special guests from time to time, or if Dan can't make it, or myself can't make it, we do have other people that are very much part of the show, but it is mainly my show. I'm going to take credit for that.
True. It's very true. I mean, that's why it's called Kyle Has an Opinion. It's not Dan Has an Opinion.
Yeah, it's the Kyle Has an Opinion show.
Yeah.
The KHAOS.
The Day-O. What's up?
I'm going to patent that so you can't leave.
Actually, it's copywritten, like you can't use it.
You can't use it.
Yeah.
So anyways, for those of you who, once again, who have never watched this show, we do not read the chat out loud while we're recording the show, but we will acknowledge everything you guys say after as a little bonus for the YouTube viewers. The reason we do that is this is also an audio-only version of the podcast, and we don't want to break continuity, and it makes it really easy for everybody involved in that process to do so. So thank you for your understanding with that.
Yeah, it makes it easier, so that way Kyle doesn't have to do weird like cuts and edits like on the actual like podcast recording.
Part of it's laziness, part of it just makes sense.
Yeah.
But we do.
It makes way more sense.
It does. We do breakout videos of every topic that we talk about. So the first part is really just talking about games that we played this week, and then followed by the On the Radar segment, where we talk about the news that was interesting to us. And then we pick 4 topics out of all of that news, and we kind of dive in a little bit more and discuss some of our deep-rooted opinions. And Dan likes to challenge me on some of them. So
yeah, sometimes like what's cool with Kyle and I, and to not make it too long, Kyle and I share a lot of the same views when it comes to a lot of stuff in the gaming industry. But then there's some things to where maybe like on a certain point I think this is better than something else, and Kyle will disagree, but we can have like good heated discussions about it. So you'll get to see that more as we go along with the series.
Thanks for buffering for me there. So
Gotcha. I got you, buddy.
So Dan, to get into it, what have you been playing this week?
Oh, man, it's been rough. So, since I watched the Netflix Castlevania series, I was like, man, I really want to play Castlevania. And, I mean, there's so many different avenues. You can do Raspberry Pis. You can do, like, emulators and stuff. But, like, with me, I actually just downloaded, or I bought, 2 games. Castlevania Mirrors of Fate HD on Steam, and then Castlevania Lords of Shadow, which is really cool. And they're completely 2 different games, which I really like. One's more like a side-scroller, kind of similar to like the traditional Castlevania, or like how people call them like Metroidvanias.
Yeah,
like backtrack and
Metroidvania.
stuff. Yeah. And then when you get more of Castlevania Lords of Shadow, is more of like a third person, over the shoulder, like a God of War hack and slash, which is really cool. Just because I didn't really get to itch my scratch with Castlevania, because the Netflix series is only 4 episodes, and I really wanted some more out of it.
But you know why that is, and we did talk about it.
I totally get it. At first I was a little salty, but of course it's a fanboy in me, because I grew up playing Castlevania, and I'm like, yeah, like I really like how we took the story of Castlevania 3, and then we really wanted to, and the way they fleshed it out, and the story was great, and I wanted more, so I was like, yeah, let's play some Castlevania. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I've been tied up with, and then it's that and Persona 5 right now, so... Yeah. Dipping my feet back in a little bit.
Yeah. How many hours now? 120, 130?
Yeah, first run through was 99.55, and then so far in run 2 with the continuation of the time, 120 hours right now.
Wow. That is a lot of time to put into a game.
A lot of time, and it's so good.
So, as far as
what about you? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like, right?
I always talk about what I'm playing. I never really ask you, even outside of work, what you're playing.
Yeah, that's true. But I normally tell you anyways.
That's true.
To be honest, this week I had not played a whole lot of anything, except I did get back into the Breath of the Wild.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, I still haven't beat it. It was one of those things when the Switch came out, I was playing it again all the time. And it was hard for me to break away from it. But also, you know, one Switch in this household, and Ashley was wanting to play it a lot too. Right. So it was like one of those things where I'd get really into it, and then I'd have to take a break, let somebody else play it. And I got to a point where I got stuck, and was really at the moment just anti-looking up a guide. Still haven't, and still stuck. So I went back to revisit that, and, you know, one of those like, take a break, go walk around, do something else situations. But then the DLC came out, so there's that motivator for me to beat it, so I can kind of jump into that DLC and appreciate some of that stuff a little bit more. And it's just an amazing game. Like I was thinking about the other day, somebody actually asked me if I knew anybody who was looking to sell their copy of Breath of the Wild, and I just thought to myself, I'm never going to sell my copy of Breath of the Wild. Like, this is a game I'm going to want to return to, or do a new game save or something like that in the future. So that was one of the things that, you know, really drew me back to that game. Is just the amazing world and expansive environments, fun things to do, more than you can process in that game. And then outside of that, continuing to play ARMS, which there is some news about how that game got updated this week that we'll address. So, you know, having fun, showing off ARMS within my house, playing Mario Kart. Yeah, my Switch got a lot of love this week, basically.
Yeah, it's good.
You know, it's the one time I was on my PC this week, I was very much just doing video edits and keeping life organized, business stuff. So it was kind of like my office reminded me of, like, work or in a little bit of stress. So I kind of stayed out of here and then did some gaming on the go. So that was nice and relaxing. I love that I have that option there, and that kind of bleeds into some of our first news bits here. So,
oh man, this one, I'm so excited about this.
So, you know a little bit more about the event as a whole. So, can you explain what D23 is?
Yeah, so D23 is like the expo that Disney puts out, and basically it highlights a lot of their up and coming or like current projects that they're working on. I think the biggest news, at least for me, outside of Star Wars, so I'll skip Star Wars because I can rant about that forever. The biggest news for me was Kingdom Hearts 3 news. We finally get a release year. Of course, it is, I'll say release year because it's subject to change with a little asterisk at the very end of it, of course. But I'm like really excited. They showcased a lot of cool stuff that they're putting into the game. We're getting a Big Hero 6 world. We're getting a Toy Story world.
Did you say Kingdom Hearts 3 yet?
Yeah, I said Kingdom Hearts 3.
Okay,
I said Kingdom Hearts 3 with the release date.
Okay, alright.
I might have said it really fast, so I'm getting a little too excited.
It's
so
okay.
I'll
no worries. I was like,
just,
I didn't hear the game name.
I'll just channel. So yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3, Big Hero 6 World, Toy Story World, which I was really blown away. Like, this is where it gets really cool. Is that the Toy Story World trailer they showed, it looked like Toy Story the movie, like Toy Story 1 and 2.
Although, can I pause real quick, though? Because watching Toy Story characters speak Japanese
was weird.
It was the fun.
It was so funny.
In tears.
Oh,
it was
man.
I wish I had the foresight to record my reaction to that video, because I was on the floor. Like, it's just something about Buzz Lightyear and Woody.
I'm waiting to hear Tom Hanks be like,
yeah, you're waiting for the voice. It wasn't even that. It was in a different language. It was the tone of the voice, everything. It was just like, so what is happening here? And I'm sure that's like how people of different cultures feel when they watch our shows dubbed. They're like, what the... You know,
who is this? Yeah.
But it was just really funny and interesting to see that perspective there and see kind of that language difference when it's like something that we know is very much like an American thing, a U.S. created thing, having that tone. It was just very interesting, but definitely got me excited for the game. Toy Story is very near and dear to me, to the point where I actually have not watched Toy Story 3. I know what happens, but I can't emotionally handle that at the point in my life, and I don't know if I ever will be able to. But I know that there's a 4 in development, which is kind of like, how can you... You know, knowing what happens, no spoilers, but knowing that you can tear at a grown man's heartstrings like that and then announce another movie, honestly, Pixar, we might have a problem here. But yeah, so the other thing about that, you know, on top of, you know, announcing Toy Story, Big Hero 6, Tangled as new environments, we didn't hear anything about Star Wars yet.
That's true.
Nothing about Star Wars. But you think Star Wars doesn't have a place in Kingdom Hearts.
Well, okay, I'll explain. So this is my reasoning. So the way I look at it, and it's just because it breaks the way magic works. So in Disney, in all the Disney worlds, you get magic. You get magic through Nightmare Before Christmas. See, okay.
But is it explained how magic works in all of those universes?
No, but
because to be fair, Star Wars magic should have never been explained either, or the Force should have never been explained.
I think midichlorians aside, we're not getting into that discussion. But that aside, I just feel like it's tough for me because I see the way the Force works. Like of course, like we said, oh my God, like Heartless, like with Darth Vader commanding them, that'd be such a sweet fight.
Right? Or Darth Sidious or something like that.
And like I mean, while it would be super cool, and I'd be all about it. The one thing that would kill it for me and take me out of the immersion of Star Wars is because I'd be like sitting here and there's Sora swinging around a Keyblade using magic attacks where the Force. I know it's weird. It's one of those things for me. It's just like I understand how you love
Star Wars too much.
Yeah, I love Star Wars way too much. It's one of those things where even like with Disney Infinity, I was like, yeah, this is kind of cool, and I played it and tried it, and then I was like, no, this isn't really for me.
It's kind of how I felt when like they reskinned Minecraft with Halo stuff, where I was like, this is really cool, but like it doesn't really fit. It didn't feel like it fit to me. And I don't know.
For some people, Star Wars can fit. And I think it's just more. I don't want to like come off like I'm like a true like a true like fan, and because I don't think that at all. I think it's just like with me, it's hard to separate Star Wars it's hard to separate. It's hard to put them together.
That's fair.
Like I think it's easier to keep them separate, and however they do. I mean, they might even do something like Clone Wars, which Clone Wars could fit because Clone Wars is more animated, so that's how I feel like the characters could fit better.
Yeah.
It's just I just think it'd be weird seeing like Luke Skywalker like get rendered how they would render him and have him running around the game when you've never seen him rendered that way before.
That's fair.
Like in a cartoony kind of way, in a game at least. Unless they've done it. If they have, I could be wrong. I haven't played every Star Wars game out there, so there's someone out there who'll be like, Dan, you're wrong.
Well, and I think it's important to note that they would probably more or less likely make your companions like 3CPO or R2D2 or something.
3CPO?
Yeah.
3CPO, not 3CPO. Not C-3PO. I said it wrong. You said it wrong, and I'm saying it wrong. You said 3CPO. Oh, no, I said it too.
Whatever.
But I know what you mean. Like having the droids be like your sidekicks,
or and like the villain being Vader, or something where it's like it has been animated, or there is a reference points for that. Yeah, I don't think Luke fits in that. I don't think I think it very much has to be like these timeless characters, not these characters that have aged or have active roles within the storyline, like Vader. At the current moment in the storyline's dead, things like that. Nothing that could affect like canon.
I think that'd be good because the biggest thing, like with most stuff, especially with Star Wars related issues, I mean, you know exactly what I'm talking about, is that they've done a lot of their, especially after Disney acquired Star Wars and Lucasfilm. A lot of the stuff that they changed is they changed basically the way the canon timeline works, and everything since then that they put out is canonical, at least for the most part. So if Kingdom Hearts broke canon, it'd be weird. Yeah. Because you're so used to like Disney and especially the way they do Star Wars, everything's canon. It has to be
canon
exact
from this point. Yeah. And I think you made one, this is like the last point I want to make on it, but I think the valuable point you made is that when you watch a Star Wars movie, you do not see the Disney castle before that movie airs. You see the Lucasfilms part. And so that there may be like unseen things.
That's what we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, like ink on the paper that we'll never see or understand of why this may not enter. I just think, for myself, I've always enjoyed the ability of Kingdom Hearts to take universes that don't mix and mix them.
Yeah,
that's fair. And that's what I'll say. But that is not the last thing about that, because there was kind of a hint that there may potentially be a Switch version of this game, which is really conflicting for me, man, because as a Switch owner, having Kingdom Hearts on the go is like the most legit thing possible.
Concept.
Like, I got that with Legend of Zelda. To get that with Kingdom Hearts, that's going to be a huge value to me, probably to the point where I will have 2 game saves and purchase that game twice. So that's going to be a little frustrating, but
I think it'd be cool because the way I look at it, especially with Nintendo is like, especially with the Switch, they came out of the gate hard, like going for third-party support, which is really cool because we didn't really see that a lot with the Wii U. So if they can get third-party support and get Kingdom Hearts on board for the Switch, I think that'd be huge for Switch sales because then you can get people who are traditional, like I've played, people who played Kingdom Hearts on like the PS2 and whatnot. Like, if they have a Switch, they could say, hey, this might be a good game to get for my Switch because, like you said, I can take it everywhere.
Right.
And I think that'd be sweet. Like, being able to take Kingdom Hearts on the go, a full game, too. Not like the Dream Drop distance they did on, like, 3DS and stuff. But getting a full, like, rich Kingdom Hearts would be amazing.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That's kind of why I bought the Switch in the first place. It's just knowing that eventually these really great experiences were going to be on the go.
Yeah.
So
they did... Without going off topic, Nintendo did amazing with the Switch. I think it's a console that everyone... That I think it's
needs more games.
It's what they wanted the Wii U to be. Yeah. But, of course, the technology just wasn't there at the time.
It definitely needs more games, but I think where it's at, it's in a good place. So
yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
So one thing that happened in the Sony realm of things is that Gran Turismo Sport got a release date finally, and it's probably not when you guys want it. It's not when anybody wants it, and it's kind of a little late considering it was supposed to come out in 2016 anyways.
Yeah, I forgot it got pushed back.
So this year it is coming out October 17th in the United States and October 18th in the EU and Australia. It has a campaign, a full list of total or what cars are going to be in it, and the track lists are still to come. But the game was supposed to be a 2016 release, so it's kind of just keep it in line with Sony delays their games a lot. And they actually had another game that was supposed to be a Sony and PC exclusive delayed that we'll talk about later. But it is one of those things that I do think it's important to note that a delayed game is not a bad thing, that we need to respect that people need to take their time with these games, or else they're going to be bad and we're going to complain about them in a worse way. A bad game is a bad game forever. A delayed game is just a nuisance. So it's one of those things that you know, if you know yourself as a gamer, I know myself, is when my wallet gets burned on a game or a franchise, chances are I'm not going to revisit that. So I'd rather them take their time and perfect it. But when we're looking at this in a more comparison sake, like, I hate to be the guy that fans the flame on the console war.
Here we go.
But there was a picture comparing Forza 7 between Gran Turismo Sport. And Gran Turismo Sport will run at 1080 60 frames per second on PS4, 1080 60 frames per second on PS4 Pro, has 170 cars, 19 locations with 27 total configurations, no dynamic weather, no realistic damage, but it does have PSVR support. So that is a lot of good things, I think. When I read that, I do think of some really cool things, but no dynamic weather and no realistic damage.
The PSVR would be cool.
The PSVR would be really cool, but Drive Club VR is a thing already. So it's like, is this an experience that's new to VR? I'm not really sure, and we'll definitely talk about that later.
Yeah, definitely.
But then, in comparison, like I said, don't like stoking this flame, but it's kind of hard not to in this situation.
We kind of have to, because
you do.
These are
this is apples to apples.
Yeah, this is like two flagship games that we have to talk about.
Like, and they are the most premier racers in the entire gaming industry, in my opinion.
Sure.
You know, Project Cars is like a close third.
Yeah, it's a close third.
You know, I think a couple more iterations of that game, it's definitely going to be on the simulation level that we're talking about. But Forza Motorsport 7 is going to be 1080 60 frames per second on Xbox One. Now, I don't know if that's Xbox One or Xbox One S. You know, so it's like, I do, to be fair, this infographic is not like an official infographic from Microsoft, so I will give that clarification, but it probably
will be, because
I don't know, the Xbox One struggles
Forza 6 was 1080p 60 frames.
That's true, so I don't see why we couldn't achieve it here.
Yeah, I think it's probably
it's going to be native 4K 60 frames per second on the Xbox One X, so
that's huge.
It does edge out the PS4 as being native 4K on top of the 60 frames per second. So there's going to be over 700 cars. Now, I do also want to add a disclaimer. I don't know if this is including potential DLC cars in a season pass.
Right.
I don't know if this is out of the box. I don't know how much money you have to pay to unlock some of these cars. So, like, let's just keep that in mind when comparing it. This number could be largely inflated with other factors.
It could just be like at the end of the game, this is how many cars there are.
Yeah, right.
So.
And it has over 30 locations with 200 configurations. Now, keep in mind that this configuration also has to do with the fact that there is dynamic weather in the game. So that's going to play into what time of day, is the track slick, you know, things of that nature. Is the track dry and drifting? All of that stuff is going to be affected by dynamic weather, which, in my opinion, makes a better simulator experience when we're comparing simulation games.
Yeah, definitely.
4K assets on the Xbox One X, which we could kind of assume.
Man. Yeah.
But back to our conversation we had last week about bandwidth, that takes up a ton of your downloads.
Yeah, it does. It's very true.
So, and then realistic damage physics.
Make sure you have a good internet connection.
Yeah.
And you don't get your data capped.
Yeah. Realistic damage in physics and custom players and features. So I think they're still using the Drivatar AIs and things like that. Which is really
it makes
really
it so
cool
much fun.
It does.
Makes it so much fun.
It does, because if Dan's not on, I can still race Dan and how he typically races, and it feels like he's there in a really great way.
Really shitty driving.
But I just think it's important to compare these two games because they are the two flagship racers. It is, yes, a console war, you know, but at the same time, I think it speaks a little bit of volumes towards the power of the Xbox One X and why I think it is going to be a really robust console. Keep in mind, too, that Forza 7 is going to be on PC, so we may see even better performance out of Windows 10 PCs that are really souped up and maxed out there. So I just thought, you know, I wanted to talk about the fact that we are finally getting a release date for this game that I have always cherished and loved on the PS4. It's just I'm kind of a Forza boy now, and that's I don't think I'm going to be able to be pulled away from that. Or, you know, I really only buy like 2 car racing games a year, one of those being a simulator of Forza 7 or the non-simulator of, you know, Forza Horizon.
Forza Horizon, yeah.
And then probably, I normally do like a Need for Speed. It's a guilty pleasure. I love EA's Need for Speed.
I do too. I really do.
If there was ever a Burnout again, that would probably be on that list as well. But I don't normally buy any racing games outside of like those couple franchises.
I think, honestly, just real quick, because we're talking about Need for Speed, I think the last one was my absolute favorite. I loved, and people are going to tell me, people are going to disagree, I love Need for Speed Hot Pursuit.
Yeah.
Getting to play as the cop cars.
Hot Pursuit was great,
right? It was so much fun.
Or are you referring to the
maybe
reboot Hot Pursuit, or the one that was on the current gen?
The one that's on the current gen right now.
Okay, so yeah, when I say I love Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, I'm talking like
Like
older
360 or the original Xbox?
Like on PS2 and Xbox. Like,
OG Xbox.
Yeah, or even PS1 Hot Pursuit.
Yeah, I did play that too.
So
yeah, I liked. Oh wait, I don't think it was Hot Pursuit on current gen. It was Rivals.
Yes, it
Rivals,
was Rivals. That's correct. So no need to correct us in the chat there.
Yeah, we got it.
But there is, I do think it's just worth noting there's a lot of great franchises. It's just when we're talking about simulation specifically on console,
you're primarily
you don't have a lot of options.
It's gonna be bundled down to Gran Turismo and Forza.
So
Motorsport, not Horizon, but.
So, we talked a little Nintendo news, we talked a little Sony news. Now, Xbox added some features this July.
And they're actually pretty robust, and they're actually very helpful, too, which is really cool.
Yeah, they're all features that I think are definitely quality of life services for its users. Like, when people say the Xbox platform isn't supported or Microsoft doesn't listen, they obviously just don't. They're just lying. It's not true. We see, obviously, that Xbox has added some great features, including custom gamer pics, club profile pictures, and backgrounds, so you can control all of these from the app. You can upload your own photos, set your own backgrounds, import straight from your phone, set your girlfriend as your background. I don't know what you want to do, but you can. And
cool.
And I think that's cool that you don't have to shove a flash drive in or go through all this extra work. You can just do it from the app, which is really great. A couple other things that they added to the app also is the ability to browse the entire Game Pass library. So if you're interested in seeing if a game is on there, or you're like, I don't know what to play while you're waiting to get out of work or something, you can take a look at this list and kind of plan your night if you have a Game Pass subscription, which I think is really cool. But also, let's say your Destiny 2 is coming up, or you're looking for a group of 3 to play some Halo 5, or you want help with an achievement. You can also view the looking for group options on your phone. So while you're waiting to get home or while you're going throughout your day, you can kind of organize your own gameplay sessions on your device, on your phone, on the go. It's like,
I think they had they had the looking for group before on there, but I think they tweaked it so it's a lot more clean.
Because more robust and simplistic.
Yeah, because before, if you didn't know what the icon for looking for group looked like, you were screwed. Like there was no finding it unless you had to go on Xbox.com/help, and then where's looking for group on my mobile app. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. For me, so I'm a huge nerd who loves changing my backgrounds on my Xbox.
Right.
For almost 6 months, I think I had.
We have a 4K TV. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, right.
And now you can put 4K photos on your Xbox.
Yeah, it definitely makes it better, because the biggest thing that I did is, like you said before, originally, if you wanted to put custom backgrounds, you had to connect your external drive or a flash drive, which is what I had to do before, because it's funny because it's huge of a Persona 5 fan I am. I have that as my background on Xbox. Like, when I turn it on, it's like, bam, there it is. And I got it all colored to, match it and everything. And I really like that because being able to... It's a way to customize. Hey, this is mine. This is how I want my stuff to look. You can customize your PC. Microsoft wants us to have a lot of... Yeah, they want us to have a lot of, things that are similar to PC settings. So now being able to customize your background again, like you could before with the Xbox 360, this made me really happy that this is a better option.
Can I shoot a shot? Can I shoot a shot real quick here?
Do it.
It's
Please.
also free to do, Sony. Take a note. Stop charging me for themes that I don't want. Let me just customize my own. Yeah. That's all I'm saying, Sony. Just give it the program.
Yeah, give
it the Times New Roman.
Dynamic themes are cool.
I get
that.
That's cool, but
sometimes I want my own custom background on my PS4, and I can't do it.
I feel like we're getting closer and closer to the point where Microsoft's just going to open up this really cool UI where you can completely customize your Xbox.
Oh, I hope to God they do.
I mean, why not? But
that'd be awesome.
I've seen some really cool mock-ups of options and programs like that where you can change the transparency of very specific tiles, set different colors to different things. And Microsoft just really seems to be listening to that feedback when it comes to customization and how people want to enjoy their platform. So
they're very good.
I'm very excited about that. If you want to talk about the co-streaming thing, I just wanted to check on something real quick.
Talk about what?
The co-streaming through Mixer.
Oh yeah, co-streaming through Mixer. So they added this option to where with Mixer on Xbox, you can co-stream with up to 3 users on different systems.
Yeah, which is pretty interesting. So that, if you think about a scenario where, I hate to bring it up again, but Destiny, right? You're doing a 3-person strike, or so you'd probably be better to talk to the exact situation where this would be beneficial. But if everybody wanted a viewpoint of what they were doing, and you wanted to kind of have a split 3-way stream where everybody gets to watch everybody's input, and it's stitched together, it retains its continuity, and everybody's on the same page, but you get the full reaction of everybody. So you can, you watch Dan, you watch me, you watch, Jake or somebody. You get that full everybody's face, everybody's voice, and everybody's gameplay on one screen. And that's really hard to pull off. Like, even if I had everybody in my house and I had all the equipment, that's still really hard to pull off in person. So it's really cool that you can do it seamlessly through the power of the internet. 3 users, one service.
It's cool.
So,
I mean, like you said, you see it a lot in console esports, like the competitions and the tournaments, to where they'll be sitting there talking, and then you'll see how it cuts between screen to screen to screen for each user. But being able to do this natively, like right in the OS of the Xbox, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah,
that's huge, and it's cool too because, like you said, anyone who views your stream, like if you're co-streaming, everyone can see like with me, I watch Gathalion on like when I watch Destiny streams, which he primarily plays on PS4. But if he did primarily play on Xbox, and like him, Professor Broman, and sometimes who they have some I don't know, Crafty, I think sometimes plays with them. I'm like totally killing it. Or Shariona, no. Yeah, some of those guys. Being able to like see between all the screens would be really cool because like especially when they do raids and stuff.
Yeah, right. Like, to get that different perspective.
Yeah,
of
it'd be really awesome.
Where was that person looking when that thing happened?
Yeah,
it's really cool. It's really nice to know. Yeah, because there's a lot of times where sometimes I just wish I had my other friend's perspective when all I can hear is them laughing over the group chat, where if I could go back to Mixer or YouTube and find that video and watch that would be really fun. So it's definitely one of the reasons why, like, when I take a look at what I stream on my Xbox or just where I stream and why I stream there, Mixer becomes a more influential part of that. I love the community and the interactive features that platform gives. It's just when we take a look at like this podcast or what we're doing here, YouTube is a little bit easier sometimes to do this. So it is a little interesting how we play this out, but I definitely love that Microsoft is investing time and resources to creating unique features that you don't really see on other platforms.
Yeah, and sometimes like some of these features that they add, like not even a lot of people ask for it, but after they have it, they're like, hey, this is really useful. Like I wish I would have thought about this too. And
speaking of features, I don't think a lot of people asked for the last update that happened within Xbox's kind of dump, almost like a content update for their own console here, is that they're adding arena support to Killer Instinct, which will actually allow for users to generate their own tournaments. And I think this is really important and something that we're going to dive into a little bit deeper in one of the topics of the show, where it's just a matter of like how console esports are relevant or going to stay relevant versus PC esports, and kind of where we both might think that they need to improve. So I just wanted to touch on that as one of the features that I think is really important to Microsoft committing to their vision of the future.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't have said it better.
Yeah.
That's really the best way to put it.
Yeah.
It's good.
So some news that saddened me a little bit coming out of Sony is that Ni no Kuni 2 got delayed until January 2018. And that puts me in a situation where I really only see 2 major titles coming out from Sony this year, and one of them is a DLC update. So it's kind of like...
Oh, for Horizon?
No, wait, is it Horizon, or is the new Uncharted game its own separate game, or is it...
Okay, game.
So we get that new Uncharted game experience. Well, let's call it that. It's not DLC...
We get the 2 female characters from Uncharted 2 and 3, from 2 and 4. Yeah, because it was I don't remember their names. I haven't played Uncharted in a while.
I knew I was gonna bring it up. I should have looked up the exact title.
I played Uncharted over a year ago, so I don't remember their names.
Like the next part of the Uncharted series, a standalone title there, and then Gran Turismo Sport. That I don't like. And feel free to correct me in the chat. We'll be sure to acknowledge it at the end of the show. But it's just one of those things that I look at Sony's holiday, and my initial gut instinct is there is no Sony holiday. But also I look at the 2-to-1 console sales, the success that they've had, continuing to push their agendas, and we still have a lot of news to come out of Gamescom later this year and Tokyo Game Show in September. So it's like there are still moments or times where announcements and things can be made that make Sony look more appetizing, but I think they're really banking on third-party support this year. Now, and I know we said this earlier with Gran Turismo Sport getting its release date after being delayed, but game delays are not a bad thing. Even though this leaves Sony in a weaker holiday launch lineup, I don't think Sony really cares at this point. I think they're really focused on what happens in spring of next year because they have front-loaded spring of 2018 so
they're really
heavy.
Stacked. They're really stacked for spring.
Yeah, and honestly, that's fine. That gives me time to enjoy my Nintendo.
It gives me time to save up some money for some games.
Yeah, exactly. Like Switch is coming out with some good titles this holiday. Microsoft's gonna have some stuff coming out. Crackdown 3, Forza Horizon 7, Sea of Thieves, stuff like that. there's a lot of things to look forward to this holiday. I just don't think anything, if we're talking in regards to Sony exclusives, it's a little lackluster.
It's a little dry this year.
But one thing I really wanted to point out, too, though, about Ni no Kuni is that how they announced this and how they went about it. The CEO actually went on Twitter in about a 5-minute video and was very, forthcoming. It's just, we want this game to be good. We want you to experience this as we see it, and we need a little extra time, and we appreciate your patience in that. And I love when a company does it, kind of puts a face to it, just kind of like Jeff Kaplan in Overwatch, or, like Aaron Greenberg or Phil Spencer with Xbox and the entire brand. Definitely. And things like that. Like when people really put a name to it, put a face to it, and connect with that community, it's important to acknowledge. Exactly, and it makes me believe in the fact that they believe in the game that they're making. It's not a PR typed out thing where it's like, we have to announce this and whatever. Like we're mad we're losing money, or we're mad we're slipping in mind share. You can definitely tell them that's not a genuine delay or something. Something's amid or something's up in that situation. But then he also took that opportunity to correct an interview where he, through translation, an interview during E3, he said something that led users to believe that there was going to be multiplayer content or some kind of multiplayer ability in the game, and there wasn't. And so it was really great to see a company acknowledge, some of their shortcomings in their development timeline, as well as make some corrections themselves. The CEO of Level 5 Games, specifically posted this on Twitter, and I think it's a classy move, and I think it's a good move, and more companies should follow suit when they need to get in front of this information.
I completely agree, especially not even the level of just being a regular low-level developer or a level designer. The CEO of the company came out and said that, which is huge because that speaks volumes. So he's invested.
It's not like the lead project manager or something. It's like top dude.
It's good because it shows he's invested in the game too. So it shows that he has something to lose if this game doesn't turn out as good as they want it to be.
He put his name out there, and I think. Sorry to interrupt it. I just think it's really important to note, too, that I say that it's really important to note a lot, but also that the more Western territories and Japanese game developers specifically take a lot of honor and pride in their business. I think the culture surrounding business is very different in Western cultures
very much so.
Than it is here.
Eastern cultures.
Eastern cultures than it is here. Sorry, my apologies. And that they, they will take a cut as a CEO before they let a game not ship. There's a lot of honor instilled in tradition in how those companies are ran, and this is just a direct reflection of that.
Yeah, no, you were completely 100%. I'm pretty sure we kind of got that exact same thing with Persona 5. I'm pretty sure
we don't get it with Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts.
Well,
straight up, they just hide. They don't say anything. Square Enix has no honor. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate right now,
Okay,
Kyle.
all right.
So I can kind of understand...
Mini chaos?
Yeah, mini chaos. I can kind of understand in terms of Square's point is because rather than keep, giving, here's a release date. We're going to push it for 2016. All right, we're going to push it to 2017. Okay, we're going to push it to 2018. People start getting upset, and I think that's why Square's just we're just not going to say anything until we get a good date down. But also not speaking is just as bad as
speaking
pushing it back and delaying with no answer of why. It's just I think it's good. Like you said, delays are not a bad thing. I think with Kingdom Hearts, it's probably better because anytime Square delays a game for a long time, they always turn out really good.
Right.
For the most part. So with me, having it to where they delay Kingdom Hearts as much as they have, it'll probably come out being one of the best Kingdom Hearts games ever. It probably will already be because it's on the scale of what it's going to be compared to previous games.
Right.
But it's just that same concept to where, like you said, and to reiterate on without getting too far off the track, is that it's very important for the developers to speak to the fan base because we're the ones who pretty much give them the money that they make for these games, and putting any type of distrust or not, pushing any distrust away from your fan base is not a good way to go about it. You have to make sure you ease their worries, let them know, hey, we hear you guys are worried about the game, we're just working on it, we just want to make sure we polish it, we want it to be the best experience you can get. That's the most important thing that they could do, and if they don't do it, the fans, you lose a little faith with the fans.
Yeah. And then the last piece of news that we want to wrap up for the On the Radar segment of the podcast is that ARMS has an update on the Switch that brings a new character in a mode. The new mode is kind of like Juggernaut, where there's a mask, and 2 or 3 players will compete to have the ability, and then whoever gets the mask will then be the boss that the other players have to take down. From initially playing ARMS, that is a game I did not think I was going to enjoy. I am thoroughly enjoying it, and this game type sounds like really fun to play. Their multiplayer has this really great way of like running you through like 10 matches in like 15 minutes, and you never feel like you really lost that bad or you won that good. But just a fun interaction, and I do enjoy that they're kind of supporting it with free content modes and updates. There's also a new character called Max Brass, who I hopefully will be able to get some gameplay on later this week and post for you guys individually. Not a lot to talk about there. Just nice to see Nintendo supporting
You're the
games.
one who's going to be the one talking about ARMS, because I haven't played it. I just watched you play it online, which it was really smooth and seamless the way the matches would go, and you never really feel like you said, you don't really feel like you're getting beat down the whole time.
Yeah, or if you lose, you're like, okay, I'm in another match in 30 seconds.
You still
it's
feel
very
pretty
quick.
good about it, and the thing is that
you never feel good about it.
Well,
you never feel good about being a failure.
It's fun though. Like that's what makes it okay.
Yeah.
Like if the game was crap, you'd be pissed because like you're getting your ass beat.
Yeah, I never feel like throwing the controller. Like I never feel like the game gypped me.
Yeah, when I watched you play it, like you didn't even seem like you were getting frustrated at all, even when like
when things were going south.
He rallied and won the match, but he was getting beat up pretty bad. He wasn't even getting flustered about it. He was just jumping and dodging and just laying down the hits until he got his ultimate, and then just laid it out, which was cool. It seems like a lot of fun.
So
don't ask me to play it though. I'm not gonna play it. I won't do it.
You're gonna play it.
I'm not gonna play it.
You'll play it with a controller.
I'm not gonna play it.
Just play it with your.
I don't want to.
Anyways,
I want it. It's not my type of game, but it's okay.
Next week on the KHAOS.
Next week,
Kyle gets Dan to play ARMS.
Dan played ARMS. Yeah.
when we start doing our Let's Play sessions, ARMS first on the list.
Dude, Let's Plays are gonna be so good when we start those. It's gonna be out of control. That's gonna be the real chaos.
Yeah, that's true.
But with a C, not with a K.
All right, so topic number 1.
Yes, this is
where we want to dive a little bit more into some things we may have not talked about in news because we wanted to give them a little bit of extra time themselves. So this honestly could probably be mixed into 2 topics, but we'll see where it goes. Valve has basically had this issue, and I think this is an issue on all platforms, including the Switch. Like, I was going through the games library on the Switch last night, and I was like, trash, 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 trash. I do it on Xbox One all the time, where I'm like, oh, this game looks interesting. Nope, it's trash, 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 trash. Same thing on PS4. We have a quality content issue. On YouTube, on Twitter, and on now our gaming systems. It's been a plague to I think the mobile market for a very long time, where so many copies of a game or so many ununique ideas are just kind of exact same name, respit out, new skins, but it's no different than the other, and we're starting to see that a lot. And Valve is kind of acknowledging this as they're giving users new tools to improve discoverability for gamers on their platform. And I think it's just time to acknowledge that we have too many games and that this is a problem.
What's funny is that like, I'm glad you brought this. I'm glad you wrote this topic in because I never thought about it until I saw it. Like when we were like briefing everything, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so true." Like I went on Steam and I was like, "Cool, Steam Summer Sale." I'm like, "What are half these games I've never heard of before in my life?" And like you said, like there's our entire every marketplace, whether it be like Xbox, Sony, PlayStation, Steam, they're littered with games, like just games, and like I think it's okay. It's a double-edged sword. I think it's cool Microsoft opened up Xbox Marketplace. That way you can put indie games out there more easily for people. Totally get it. The problem I have is when people try to put games out there for quick cash grabs, and they're just absolute crap games.
Yeah, and this is something that I know a couple other podcasts or just vocal people in the community have talked about. Specifically, there are games on PlayStation that are like $2 games that exist solely and only for you to get a platinum trophy, which is kind of the biggest BS, because there are games that are considered like DLC, like I think Telltale, or like there's other things that
Infamous.
aren't
Infamous Last Light, I think it's called,
or something like that. Where there are these games or these things that are kind of their own standalone experiences that aren't getting platinums because they're not standalone games. But then these garbage games like My Name is Mayo, or other things like that, where it's literally like all you're doing is tapping X for an hour to get a platinum. It's pay for platinums at that point, and that ruins the ecosystem. It's going to encourage other people to flood the market, and it's oversaturation for a cash grab. And I just think, I think it's too little too late a little bit for Steam, because Steam is just
They've had the floodgates open for forever.
It is a dumpster fire, Steam Greenlight program. Like, you see a couple things coming out of that. I will talk about how I feel about pre-release games and paying for them in a different show.
Oh man, this would be.
It's probably going to be next week's episode.
That'd be a really good one. Yeah, that's my favorite. This is probably my favorite conversation.
Because we will go at it. Like, we might yell.
Well, okay, I wouldn't say we would yell.
But anyways, I don't. That's for next week.
Well, I'll get too into it.
But I think these marketplaces are just completely and absolutely saturated and flooded with cash grabs and bad games.
It's definitely a problem now. I mean, like, nothing frustrates me more than when I go on my Xbox and I'm like, all right, I want to see like what new cool games came out. So I go to new games and I just scroll through like 10, 20 titles before I even get to like a AAA title or even like an indie developer that I'm familiar with title. It's just a bunch of games that are like $10, $5, $2, and I'm just like, and you see the ratings on some of these, and it looks like someone made this like back in 2002. I'm just like making a game for the sake of making a game isn't a good idea. What you like, especially for people who want to get into game development, you should want to get into game development to create the story of what you want your
create an amazing story or create a brand new experience.
And just putting something out there for the sake of putting it out there to get a quick cash grab. I mean, that's no better than the people who do Kickstarters and then it just goes under and everyone loses their money.
Yeah, or it's no better than when we criticize our favorite franchises for gouging us with DLC. Like it's like, that same kind of consumer...
Like Activision with the Infinite Warfare / Modern Warfare 4 remaster standalone now that they did after all that.
I told everybody.
I know. I was there. not there with you. I was there with other people I talked to about it.
I like the way that they had talked about how this system is going to work. Essentially, it's going to not only, like it has in the past, take a look at your games library, but it's going to take a look at how, if you have 100 games... it's going to take a look at how much time you spent in each of those individual games. It's also going to calculate into it how much of that time did you spend playing with other friends who own similar games and things like that. So it's going to really try to kind of take a look at what you're already doing and find suggestions simply based on that instead of saying, oh, we see you play Counter-Strike, so you're going to like these other 30 first-person shooters. It's not true. That's not how that works. Or I just always be like, oh, because you play Counter-Strike, here's Ark Survival. I'm like, these are two polarly different games, and I don't have any interest in one.
I don't want to talk about Ark Survival.
Yeah, I know you don't, and we're not going to.
I'm not going to talk about it. But no, you're totally right.
Yeah, so it's nice to see Valve acknowledging that their marketplace maybe needs a little bit of cleanup and giving users the tools to do so. I've always liked the wish list queues or the browse these things. I
love the wish list queues.
Yeah, the wish list queues telling you when things are going on sale, or hey, we think these games are games you might be interested in. But what I often find is I'll say, every time I look at that list, I will see games that I've already said, no, I'm not interested in, or I just don't care.
Or early access
or early access, exactly.
Those pop
like
up
if
all
I could
the
just
time
filter all of those out of there, because I'm not, like, sorry guys, I'm just not going to pay money for your game until it's done. Anyways, next week.
I follow some early access just because
I'll follow
when they come
it,
out,
I'm just not going to give them my money.
I mean, there's one I'll name. It's called Ghost of a Tale, and it looks pretty freaking adorable. You play as a mouse, right? Yeah. And like it's like a little mini
I play as a cat.
It's a little mini like city, like almost like your little mouse like traveling through it, and it's really cool. But it's an early access, so it's the one thing that turned me off from it. I mean, great reviews. Everyone's like, yeah, it's like early, but it's really awesome. I'm just
until
like,
it deletes your save and breaks.
Yeah, right. until it deletes your save and breaks. But be able to like view that as cool, like to put it into like a wish list queue, because that way I can keep an eye on it, and that way when it goes out of early access, bam, I'll buy it in a heartbeat as long as it's still reviewed well. But then again, I mean, this will go back to last week though with how people. Like the rating system's a little broken on Steam because people just downvote something because they're unhappy about
like
one
you
little
talked
thing.
about last week.
So I shouldn't say I should wait to read all the reviews. Maybe wait until like to see like credible reviews to go through, rather than just like user reviews, because some user reviews you just can't trust.
Yeah, and I think Valve is going to take this and they're going to work with it a little bit more. It's just happy to see that somebody's acknowledging this.
Yeah,
every marketplace has like their filters by price or by genre or by release date, things like that. But I think we really need to add this kind of level of deeper data that we know they're collecting. They have all this information on the back end of server. So like let's make them use that data to better influence our gameplay or the games that we see.
Yeah, make it so I get a better experience using Steam, and that way I get better games to try and play that I might like.
And if you put more games in front of me that are relevant, guess what? You get more of my money, and it's a win-win for everybody.
Yep.
So, Another thing that I think, it's still Valve, because Valve owns Steam.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that too. I was like, we're still talking about Valve.
Yeah, we're still talking about Valve in this situation, but kind of a completely different part of this is that they did basically a mass ban hammer on over 40,000 different cheaters.
Amazing.
I would not be surprised if 39K of those were Counter-Strike players.
I would say, well, have you, okay. I was reading that.
Or
Daisy. I was going
to
bring up and ask about Counter-Strike because the biggest thing I see when I go look at, I'm like, all Kyle talks to me about is Counter-Strike Go. And
that is not.
Well, no, you keep telling me to play it. I'm like, cool, I want to play it. Except the problem I have is, like, when I look at the reviews, all I see in the comments, cheaters, hackers, cheaters. So then
play with Prime. It's not a problem.
It turns me off to it because I'm like, I don't want to play if that's the case.
Right. I can tell you that there's not as many cheaters as people think. Right. A lot of people just suck.
Yeah,
I will tell you that right now. But then there are tons of cheaters when you get in the higher levels and ranks and
competitive
things like that.
Play. And
whatnot. Competitive play, and they yeah, right. And specifically, like in the conversation of Counter-Strike, Steam and Valve have launched things like Prime Matchmaking, where essentially you link your account with a phone number, and because of that account now is like locked, and so you don't go out and get a new phone number every week. So not a lot of people have Prime Matchmaking. That's gotten rid of a lot of cheaters. They have a good Overwatch system, not like Overwatch the game, but a system that they call Overwatch, where different gameplay, if it's
Copyright
reported. If different gameplay is reported, you can go through and review that gameplay and give your opinion on whether you thought there was aim hacks, walls, etc., things like that. So they do have kind of like community hall monitors and
it's cool.
things built into the game that I appreciate, but there's still, whenever Counter-Strike goes on a Steam sale, I won't play it for a month because all the hackers and cheaters go buy another copy, make a new Steam account, and maybe go buy a track phone just so they can, I kid you not. Because of the skins market, there are people who still, they want to do this, they want to get more skins, and it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
I wish Valve would do more, but also at the same time, like 40K bans across their entire platform
is amazing.
It's amazing.
I love
a big thing, but like, I guess this is one of those things where I do have to look into it a little bit more, but I don't know if it's permanent bans, if it's just, the extent of the information I know on exactly how these bans were rolled out is a little light, and I don't know. It's not really an issue if you ask me in a lot of other places. I think, from day one, Blizzard has always handled cheaters in a very efficient way.
Yeah,
you don't really see them on, like, Call of Duty and Halo, and if they are, it's one of those things, it's people using keyboard and mouse modifiers to play on their console, and at the end of the day, I think that the only reason that that's cheating right now is because it's not a feature that everybody can do without spending an extra $200.
True.
But I think using a mouse and keyboard should be perfectly acceptable and fine, and that they need to just program that into both consoles.
Yeah.
Because, at that point you're saying any controller is fine, you choose your poison.
Yeah, I mean, that way there's no disparity between, like, console and PC. Yeah. It's just, like, you can do either one.
Well, it's just one of those, if you walk into a room and you're like, hey, you have supercar A, B, or C, but A and B go slower than C, and you pick A or B, then sorry. Like I know you liked the way A, B, and looked, but you know that C was faster, and you didn't pick C.
Yep,
so
that's true.
You either adapt or die.
Real quick though, like touching on like the mass ban of like 40,000 cheaters, like I brought up to you earlier about how there's basically a malware that's been out for a long time called Trojan.steamstealer.csgo. So essentially what would happen is if your computer was afflicted with this malware, it would essentially get in as a backdoor, go into your Steam account, steal your Steam account authentication, and then they could steal all of your Counter-Strike Go items out. It was mainly just for Counter-Strike, which is really odd. Like, you'd think you'd want to get
well, because their skins worth like 10K, you know that, right?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. Like,
I
would open it and show you some of my 6 skins.
I'm totally okay, but
I have no knives, so I'm really a pleb.
But it's just crazy that it's just designed just for that. Like, typically you'd think that they'd want to get in and steal your entire account, so they have your credit card and like your PayPal account and all that access. But nope, they just want those skins.
I mean, it's easy skins, easy wins. Like, if you don't have skins, you don't win. Like, if you play with stock weapons, you're gonna lose every time. Doesn't matter who you are. It's the rule. It's Counter-Strike lore. All right. it's religion. You wouldn't understand.
I don't. You know what? I don't want to understand. I don't need to
make you understand.
Next week on Let's Play, Dan played Counter-Strike Go and lost it.
Dan plays Counter-Strike Go while choking on a cartridge of arms.
Yeah, right.
What a thumbnail that would be.
You got like the fucking controller, the controller in my mouth. I kind of blurred it a little bit. My bad. That's the one time. It's PG-13. Everyone's allowed to say it one time. I got it out.
Right. I'm just
allowed to swear one time.
Nah. Nobody's watching it. We got 2 people. We're one. No, just kidding. But,
we count as one person watching the stream.
Yeah, right. On to the third topic, though, and this is something that we kind of foreshadowed earlier with our comments in regards to the arena situation on Xbox and having these user-made tournaments. But as the PC market kind of continues to dominate esports, right, we've got League of Legends, you've got Dota, Counter-Strike, Overwatch.
Overwatch always comes up.
Yeah, Overwatch, it's hard not
so
to. I mean, it has taken the world by storm and is one of the most popular games in the world. And it's only a year and a month and a half old. So, it's pretty impressive.
It's good.
People talk about it more than they talk about StarCraft. And StarCraft used to be that game.
Yeah, it was
but
that
once
game.
again, another Blizzard title.
Yeah,
like,
they know how to make good games.
Yeah, they do. I gotta give them that. But, the PC market has really been dominating when we have these esports conversations. A lot of those conversations is in regards to the PC market, but that's also depending on what kind of game we're talking about. You don't see PC market domination where we're looking at fighting games, and
True.
Evo's going on right now.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
that's kind of providing like the proof in the pudding that fighting games on console, that market is very secure. That's a great place to thrive, and with seeing that kind of support from Microsoft on Killer Instinct, a fighting game that has been debuted and shown at Evo and competed on, like it kind of leans into that more, and it's kind of the timing of it's really interesting, but. When I look at like Halo and Call of Duty and some of those more competitive FPSs, and even with PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds now coming to Xbox, you start to see this area of opportunity where these games are very, very popular on PC. They're highly streamed. They're very competitive. People are building teams and organizations around them. Overwatch just announced their initial 7 teams that are going to do the entire Overwatch League.
That's been cool.
Including, Shanghai, Seoul, South Korea. You've got New York, Boston, LA, a couple other cities mixed in with that. But it's one of those things, like, these are major people getting into this. These are major organizations investing a lot of money into this.
With a lot of revenue being
a lot of revenue for There's a
revenue.
lot of ad revenue for video advertising, sponsorship opportunities. Like, this industry is billions and billions of dollar industry, and it's blowing up. And yet I think when we look at Halo, when we look at Call of Duty, they have nowhere near the excitement, in my mind, that the League of Legends, that the Dota, that, Overwatch and Counter-Strike have. They are not as fun to me to watch. Well, Halo is interesting because sometimes it's really boring to me. Sometimes it can get super exciting. Call of Duty...
See, I can't
watch Call of Duty competitively.
I can't either.
It's not fun.
It's not fun. It's not fun. I mean, it's just like when you normally play. Like, it's not like when you play Halo to where you can do these really crazy pushes because you get special abilities. Like Call of Duty, like, your special abilities come from your kill streaks.
Yeah, well,
for the most part.
I mean, like, kill streaks aren't really a thing in competitive Call of Duty. Like, they're turned off. But Call of Duty is a lot about, like, spawns too. Yeah. And spawn management is important in Halo. You can trap the spawn or you can force the spawn in other ways. But, like, Halo is normally, like, an arena-style map where it's, like, the same way on each side, and it's really about, it comes down to gunplay and gun skill, but also the way that, with power weapons dropping, teams having to organize around that on top of playing an objective. Sorry, guys, I can't talk today. Jeez. Okay. It's just one of those things where I think, like, Halo would really, really, really benefit from this feature on Xbox, and I think a lot of other games would too, and we'd see more people getting involved in the competitive scene. And I think Sony needs to take note. Like, if you are the home of Call of Duty, you need to make your platform cater towards esports. You gotta drive this competition, these leaderboards, these community building tools like Xbox is doing. Because if you were to ask me what I think Xbox is going to do the next time we flip into the next generation, I think they were doing everything they can to make it very hard for Call of Duty to say, we're staying with Sony. Yeah. They're trying to set up the infrastructure to be like, not only are the best games played on Xbox, which, asterisk, that's your opinion, but like the best experiences, the best communities, the best tournaments, like they're trying to make that the pillar. But it's hard when you compare it to the PC market and how much more accessibility you have just because you're on a PC. You can open up a Windows tab or a tab in Chrome and just fill in your stuff. You don't have to depend on these features in the app. But then the spectating on a PC is a lot nicer than spectating on a console. So
True.
it's I don't know. In this situation, like, do you think it makes sense for the console market to play catch up? And how much time do you think console, game developers or these systems should they dedicate to esports?
So, well, here's what I say. So,
in comparison to PC markets,
sure.
I guess.
I mean, I think it's a good idea because you can get a lot more people into it.
Right.
Primarily because it's a lot easier and more accessible to get into a console than it is to get into a PC, unless you have the money to invest into it.
Yeah.
And you brought up Overwatch about how like it's more popular than like Overwatch, Dota, League are more popular than like Call of Duty and Halo, and I think it's just because like with Overwatch it's accessible on 3 different types of machines. It's a PC, Xbox, PS4.
It's kind of like Rocket League.
And Halo was locked to Xbox. Call of Duty is kind of across the board, but
the communities don't cross
the communities
very
are not
well.
the same. Yeah. And I think especially with Overwatch, granted, Overwatch can get very, very, very toxic.
Very toxic, and it also plays completely different depending on console
style.
or PC.
It definitely
because
does.
of what you can do with the controls that you have.
Yeah, it's definitely a much different experience. So I mean, I think it's good because like I said, not only you can get more localized, like people get involved in tournaments and whatnot. But I mean, it gives you the ability to have more teams available for like a bigger league for different stuff. Like with Halo, it's always gonna be limited because of the Xbox.
Sure.
Unless they put it to PC, that'd be the only type of thing I could think of that would be different to get the Xbox MLG to be able to kick back off again or get into esports.
Yeah.
Would be having access on Halo on Xbox and PC. Like I said, Call of Duty, I'm not a huge fan of it, so
which is fine.
It's whatever. But no, I think it's a really good idea. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made in that arena, and I think with just having that ability to have that there, like just putting, I definitely see Xbox is going to do it. I can't talk either. I keep like losing where I'm trying to go with. Microsoft definitely should invest into esports.
Okay.
Especially with the way they're pushing, the way that to play on Xbox and the continuity across like the different between PC and Xbox, and especially with the different families and whatnot.
Just set up the infrastructure. The second Halo comes to PC, that could blow
up.
The second Halo comes to PC, that can blow up. That can be a huge win for Microsoft.
You can tell Microsoft's definitely investing into it because of how they have the arena tournaments added into with Killer Instinct. That's just a start. They could test it there, see, hey, this works good. Let's do this with other games. Gears of War tournaments they could do. They could do Gears of War. They could do Halo 5. I mean, I doubt you'd ever get anything racing just because of how like different that is. But maybe they could do something like that.
There are like Microsoft did host a racing tournament for Forza.
Yeah.
So I mean, they happen. They're not as popular. They're not as fun to watch. You'd rather probably just watch real racing.
You'd probably rather just play it yourself than watch it.
But there's some games where it's like, well, I'll just watch real cars go around on these tracks.
Yeah.
So that's a little tricky because that's an experience that you can get in real life. Whereas you can't shoot people in real life, or you can't transform into these different worlds and things and become a part of that universe. I was just thinking about it as you were kind of actually talking about this. Nintendo has games like Splatoon, Super Smash Brothers, Mario Kart. I don't think Mario Kart's an esport, but like Super Smash Brothers and Platoon, or Splatoon specifically, have both had esports communities. What does Sony have as a contender for esports? Do they have any proprietary games that are theirs only that have an esports edge? Because Paragon is a PC thing.
Unless you consider Street Fighter when it's
But that's on PC too.
Yeah,
so
it's a good point.
That's what I'm saying.
I think the only thing that will keep it alive is that we have to see all the big names, Sony, Microsoft, maybe even Nintendo. They need to invest in it.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. And it's tough for Super Smash because for the longest time, Super Smash, like their tournaments were community driven, not even like officially sanctioned by Nintendo.
Yeah, and
until
Nintendo
they did the recent
still
ones.
is
They
very
did one at Evo, I think they had a Super Smash
and even
tournament.
then though it was super heavy
really,
on
relaxed.
The restrictions and what you could do, what the players could do on stage, and it was just like everybody's tiptoeing around Nintendo. And Nintendo, I'm not going to give them credit in this debate. I'm just saying that they have some games that could very much be e-sported in a way. But Nintendo has been particularly the bad guy in these situations, shutting down tournaments, taking videos down, essentially just being the dictator of how people can play their games.
Yeah.
And they do that on YouTube and how they try and regulate what kind of gameplay and opinions you put out on their games. Like, Nintendo has a really big disconnect on how to connect with these communities, but they at least have games that they own that can be converted in this. Where it's like, I feel like with Sony, like, yes, they had Rocket League, but they don't have Rocket League anymore.
Smash Bros. Melee has been out of control, like, in the competitive scene. Like,
but even then, like, one of their players who last won a tournament went on this entire rant about basically, like, you see this tournament, you see this passion, and you ignore us, I'm done. You know, like, they're sick of being ignored. They are sick of being ignored by Nintendo and not getting that support and not seeing their games and their passions thrive. When they look out into a crowd and they see people who have stood behind them for years and the company that makes the game can't even acknowledge it, it's bullshit.
Oh, no, Reggie reached out. They had an article on it with Kotaku where he reached out and talked to him.
But it took that kind of reaction to reach out, where they should be proactive. They should be embracing.
And the response wasn't even that good that Reggie gave him. It was just kind of like, it's just because we like it like this. And it's like, well, that's cool and all, but the people who are bringing all the hype about your games, like, you have to, like, look at that. You have to
acknowledge your champions. And it's like, Nintendo, in my opinion, has made decisions since the Wii U to not care about the people who made their console, who put this thing in so many households. You know, the moms, the dads, the brothers and sisters who all enjoy these games, like, they're just ignoring those people.
Yeah, I think a lot of
I think they're getting better at it, but when we're talking esports specifically, they've given that entire community a middle finger for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know if it's more so if it's like Nintendo, like the Nintendo Americas, or if it's Nintendo Japan that's like the disconnect. But somewhere in between, there's something that's not rare, and it's not right.
Yeah,
they definitely need to acknowledge the people who are like bringing these tournaments and stuff together. Because I mean, like, if you did that for Halo, I mean, Halo took off with MLG because of people doing LAN parties and local tournaments, and Microsoft embraced that because they knew how good it was. And with Smash Bros,
but Microsoft also lost Halo because they stopped supporting that scene, and they kind of they didn't allow Bungie to support MLG in the way that it would have in the first place, or the way it originally was. Like, remember when there was MLG playlists in Halo 3, and those were nowhere to be found in Reach or 4?
Yeah.
You know, they were called Pro, or they were called something else, but they weren't called MLG, and that's probably because of contract reasons. But it seemed like for a while Nintendo had a disconnect and stopped communicating with that competitive scene, and then they realized how important it was for their Halo specifically to stay on that table, because I think each time, like Halo 4 and Halo
Microsoft.
My bad.
I was like, wait, Nintendo and Halo? I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But it's important to correct me in that. But it's just one of those things where Halo 4 and Halo 5, like, I think in both of those, Halo was on the table, and we were not sure if it was going to make it past these surgeries, these changes.
I was really concerned.
And I still think it's on the table. I still think it's back one last time, and if we don't get the surgery right, if we don't launch this right, if it's not on PC with full competitive support and a community and updates, and I do think Halo 5 has been amazingly supported. It's getting a lot of updates, but I still think there's a lot. Like, I follow so many Halo pros, like my community, my friends on Twitter, you know, these people who have competed in Halo for 10 years now. They still are frustrated. They're still not getting listened to all the way. But that's the same, though, in Counter-Strike. It's the same in Call of Duty. So I think there's still an issue with, like, the players want it one way, the game developers want it this way, and then the tournament organizers want it that way. And I think what really needs to happen, and this is something we can always talk about later, but there needs to be an esports commission. There needs to be one central company instead of all these other little pop-up investor companies running their own tournaments. There needs to be an esports league that manages leagues. You know, like, we've got an NHL, we've got an NBA. We need something like that for esports that is universally recognized throughout the entire world, or at least region-based, where there's communication and flow and transfer of points and ranking system.
Especially if we're going to try to make esports become a commonplace thing, to where it's going to be a common tournament type of item. I mean, if the support's not there, it's just going to die out. And I mean, I think that's the most frustrating thing for me too. It's just because, like, you know, like you were saying, like, there's a lot of times where, like, the companies don't reach out, they don't talk, they don't care. Like, I think, and I'll even say this, go the Bungie approach. Like, Deej from Bungie, that guy who is, like, they're the face of Bungie for them for the most part. You can hit him up on Twitter, he'll tweet you back, he'll respond to you, he'll talk to you. So like having someone like that for every company who could be like their PR person who reaches out to the community, I think that's an important role that jobs kind of don't have anymore for a lot of game developers. They just don't have someone who is like the go-to on social media to reach out to the community.
Or they assign it to somebody who doesn't
someone who doesn't play, or like they're not really familiar with it.
Or they
like,
play or they don't play like that.
And the reason why I like Bungie is because, or at least like Deej and them, is because they play the game. They know exactly what's in their hands, what everyone else is experiencing, because they play it too. So when you talk about that, they know exactly where you're coming from, and they can relate to you, and they can pass that information on to developers so they can make changes and stuff. So I mean, that's a very important thing I think in the industry that all these other ones need to pick up and start doing, is they need to start working on, if they want to make money in esports, if they want to push this to be the next thing, they need to invest heavily in it. They have to have people in PR who can reach out to the communities and speak to them. And like you said, they need to have someone who overly basically has a ruling or can help dictate and well, I don't want to say dictate, sounds terrible, but have a sense of direction
it's proper
for what we want for esports.
Yeah. No, I agree. I am very passionate about esports, you know, as somebody who used to compete, as somebody who has taken just immense pride in kind of turning this thing that we do and that we almost get mocked for into a career, into a passion, into this, you know, mass thing, streaming, YouTube. I love anybody who's pursuing that just as much as like a dad is proud of his son who's good at football, good at basketball, things like that. Yeah. I love that people are finding a way to find community and find connection. And I want this industry to blow up even more and be even or supported on just a level that we're not seeing it right now. The money's there, the support is getting there, the fans are there, they want it. So it's just when are we going to get it and what steps need to happen. But I think it's just important to always have that conversation. Where are we at with these things? Which is a very important question to ask about the state of VR, because it's time, baby, for the KHAOS.
Oh, yeah.
So, Dan,
I've been looking forward to this all week.
What did you want to do this week? What did you text me about?
Well, I wouldn't say what I wanted to do, but what I texted you about.
What you wish you could have done.
It was pretty big news. I mean, you know, Oculus lowered the cost of the Rift from
for a temporary time.
It's for the Summer of Rift sales that they call it. It's been lowered from, what was it, $600 or $800 before? It's down to $399 now.
Whew. Same cost as our good friend PSVR.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem to be doing too good either.
Yeah, it's a little struggle.
So, I'm gonna ask you just because I'm gonna let you, you know, get your fundamentals out here. Why do you think it got price dropped?
So, okay, so from what I've seen and what you hear, of course, how Oculus tries to flip and spin it is that this is a way to be able to get VR into the hands of the consumer, so it's an easier price point, so that way people can start to adopt VR more, so that way we can get VR to get a little more mainstream and get its footing in the gaming industry right now. To which Kyle, my friend, didn't view it the same way as I did.
I don't. I think Oculus knows that this system is a failure, or a sales failure, let's say. I think the Oculus is a good system. I don't think it's a great system. I think the Vive is way better and has better exclusives, headset exclusives. I don't even know what to call those. This is not a console
like room
exclusive.
Scaling and stuff.
Yeah, well, the room scaling is nice, but there are also games that A, only work with HTC Vive because of the controller or because of the room scaling, or B, have only specifically been designed for HTC Vive. And so when you look at the...
And it hurts too because with Oculus, because a lot of they lock a lot of their... Like almost every one of the games that work with the Oculus are locked to the Oculus Rift.
Well, and that's part of the reason why I'm not really in full support of the Oculus, and why I think
I can dig it too.
I think that's why it's looking at the situation of like it's down to $400. Something that used to be $800, now $400. You know, that's a 50% decrease, and it's been out since like mid 2015 or mid to late 2015.
Yeah,
and even then when it launched, it didn't even have the controllers until last year.
Yeah, it was $600 before the Rift Touch controllers came out.
Before the Rift Touch controller. So I personally think the Rift was never consumer ready, or it's not consumer ready. It wasn't consumer ready when it was marketed, and it needs to stop. You know, this is one thing we agree on, is that VR needs to stop being marketed to some degree as what it is.
It's being marketed as a finished product, like it's a mainstream, like it's got its footing, like it's ready to be out there, and that's not the case.
It's not. That's you know, there are games coming out for it. Bethesda's on board with Fallout VR, but we haven't played Fallout VR, right? We've seen it, but we haven't played it, and until we play it, we don't know how that's going to work. You know, the big issue for a long time was like, all right, how do we make VR so people don't puke? And I feel like once they got it to that point, they're like, all right, ship it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not enough, because VR games cost more to develop.
They do.
Therefore, if there are not people funding these games, then or like, you know, bigger companies like HTC, like Facebook with Oculus funding these games, that you know, it's asking a lot for people to develop specifically for that. So if nobody's developing games, then where's my motivation to buy it? Or how do I know it's going to be supported post my purchase? Yeah. I know a lot of people who bought PSVR who kind of feel burned right now. There's not a lot of PSVR experiences coming out.
I'll tell you exactly what I said when I first saw PSVR gimmicky. And everyone disagrees with me. They're like, oh, but you get like the Batman game, you get to play the Star Wars game. Yeah,
but none of those, in my opinion, were full game experiences.
Not just that,
they were demos. They're all demos.
The problem I had with it is that you're gonna try to sell me PSVR with Star Wars X-Wing Fighter. Like, that's not gonna be enough to really jump me into it, because it's just one experience. Like you said, it's a glorified tech demo. That's really what you're getting right now with VR.
I don't want to be this tech demo.
And I think what really got you going when we had the conversation was I was saying, hey, it'd be sweet if Vive dropped their price, because that way they can be competitive with it. Yeah. Because and that's when me and Kyle started getting into the disagreement, to where you're like, well, no, that's not really why. And I looked at it that way, because from a consumer standpoint, I say, hey, Rift is dropping their price to make it more consumer friendly, because that's how they advertised it. Yeah. And I'm like, cool, so Rift can do the same and put Rift in more people's hands, where that's the problem is more so, like you said, Oculus is probably more hurting for money with this unit that they have right now. Yeah. Which I've even read, there was an article through Kotaku where they were quoting different things about the VR industry, and someone brought up that there's rumors that Oculus is going to release a $200 headset in the future. And you know, they came out and said this is not indicative that we're selling this for this lower cost because of this. Right. But it kind of seems like that could really be why they're doing that. I mean, because when you backpedal now, you're like, we're not lowering the price because this other thing's coming out. Right. It kind of seems like you're kind of trying to cover yourself, like, in the future. But
like I said, like, I think either Oculus 2.0 or whatever is around the corner, or that they're sitting on so many of these, and they need to sell some of them, specifically because of the way that they've locked down their games library. You know, it's like you have this situation where you need install base for people to be inspired and encouraged to make games for your console.
Well, they even said that they stopped funding like smaller projects for Vive. They said that they can just do it themselves now. Where the one thing that you brought up to me that I really respect about HTC is that they help develop. They helped launch so many of those fundamental. They help fund a lot of their games, which is cool. So I mean, you can clearly tell who's really in it to win it right now with VR. And I feel like maybe Oculus had like a good idea, and I feel like they might have lost.
I just it's one of those things, right? Like, we were talking about it earlier, like, with the Fallout example. It's like, so cool. These games like Fallout, Resident Evil are coming out. They have their VR versions, right? But it's not this game that is only VR. And I don't think those games are going to come until install base it comes, but then people aren't going to buy unless they see games that are more unique and not just a different way to play a game that they're going to play anyways.
Like, you're very right, especially with bringing up Resident Evil, because like you said, even though that's also on PSVR, but it's also on PC for VR. If you have a Vive headset, you can play that too. So it's kind of like, if you have a PC, like,
or a PS4,
it's just an alternate way to play. It's not designed solely around that. Like, if you were like, hey, here's a Halo game, it's all VR, we designed a full story for it.
But even then, I like that, and this is like another thing that I'm like really specific and passionate about with this VR stuff. I don't want Halo VR. I don't want Call of Duty VR. I really don't want to. Brand new VR only game experiences that can be like consumed in like these, you know, like 3 to 4 hour gameplay sessions. Like, I want these, you know, nice short stories, but I don't want these gimmicks. I don't want these licensed BS things, you know. I want the, you know, and that's, if I was going to give Sony a tip of the hat on one thing, you know, specifically with like Farpoint or some other games that they've launched, it's just one of those, like, that is a true experience. Right. You know, they have shipped like unique games that are specific for their console, but then, you know, as I've played Sony VR, my big like hang up there is quality. It's like it looks okay, but it doesn't look as good as Vive. It doesn't look as good as Oculus, and even then, it's just one of those. You know, you brought that up, is like the PS4's biggest issue is its power. You know,
I just Pro, just the regular PS4, which can run the VR, it's gonna be limited and it's gonna be held back by the power of the PS4. And like, honestly, like, I feel like if you really want to play VR, you should do it with a PC. It's the best way to play.
Yeah, I think it. I think
even Xbox One X. I'll even because there's claims of rumors, of course, of like VR with that. But even then, I feel like PC is the best way to play because you're going to get the best experience because you're not limited by what hardware the console manufacturer put in the box.
Right. It's just one of those things. I think with VR, I am not willing to be the early adopter. On so many other things in the industry, I will be the first person to buy that. I am happy to jump on board, but VR is. I've tried it. I've played it. It is kind of a proof of concept. Everybody, I think, needs to play it themselves to know how they're going to feel about it. But it's kind of like the same thing. Like, people's hesitation to spend $300 on the Switch because they're like, I don't know if there's games on the Switch that I want. That's $300 versus $600.
Yeah, it's a much different
that's $300 for the whole thing. $600 plus the PC to run it. $400 plus the PS4 Pro to run it. Yep. There's so much, you're asking so much from the consumer, and it's so hard to, it's just so hard to find where you want to be in this. As a gamer, I want to experience games. Well, it doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter if it's on an iPhone. It doesn't matter if it's on an Xbox. It doesn't matter if it's on a PlayStation 4. I want to play games. And so I want to play VR games. I want to have a VR headset. I don't think I can justify, as heavy of a gamer as I am, I cannot justify even $400 on this yet. Yeah, I'm just not there.
This is it's something that I brought up before too, and that's why I said VR was really frustrating to me, is because they're trying to push it to the average consumer that, hey, this is like ready, it's consumer ready, like it's ready to go in mainstream. And the problem is that the average consumer is going to look at this, say, hey, like, let's say they don't have a gaming PC yet. Let's say they just are checking out VR for the first time. Right. They're going to look and say, hey, like $399 for a VR headset. That's actually really good. I heard they're really expensive. Okay, what do I need to have this? Oh, so I got to build a computer that's going to at least be $800+ to at least be able to run VR decently, plus the $400. So, like, you're at least looking at $1,200+ to start with VR. And, like, that, and it frustrates me because, like, if I was the average consumer, we're not the average consumer. We do our research. We want to make sure we know what we're doing before we buy it. The problem with that is that the average consumer could get burned because they buy into something too early. Like you said, you spend the money on that, and you're just paying that just for the headset, and there's no games for it. There's like no decent games to play.
Or it's like
that's what tell me back with PSVR. I mean, sure, I could totally buy it, I could try it out, but I just was never sold on it because there's just not enough there yet.
Or I think, like, Sony specifically has this huge opportunity to include VR games with PlayStation Now.
Yeah,
not PlayStation Now, PlayStation Plus.
Yeah,
it's like,
definitely.
So even if it's a small title, hey, you have a PlayStation Plus subscription. You're getting a game on PS3. You're getting a game on PS4. You're getting a game on Vita, and now you're getting.
And
a VR
it's a special
game.
Thing. Like, just try out the VR game.
We're almost a year away from when VR came out for PS4. Yeah, if you think about it.
And that's a good idea.
If there's not enough games for you to throw some freebies into your PlayStation Plus, that might be more indicative of the issue with your VR.
I think it's good. I think it's a good idea because that way it shows that you're fully invested in VR.
Yeah.
Because to me, if I look at a company and they're like, yeah, we're fully invested in VR. Okay, where's the games at?
Right? Oh, yeah,
like, where's the games?
I completely agree.
I mean, of course, you're going to see more VR games on Steam because you can get a lot more, like, independent developed games, of course, versus what you see on console, which is why I think I like the concept of PC VR because there's going to be just much more there, of course.
It's just so hard to nail it down. And it goes back to that, where do I play VR? Where's the best VR experience? Where's the best price to performance? Where's the best cost? Where, there's so much that goes into it, but I just think at the end of the day, VR launched early. I think it's been over marketed as this full solution, that this easy to do thing, and I don't, like, even with a sale like that, I just, like, I was worried you were going to pull the trigger. I really was.
No.
When you were texting me, I was like,
are you kidding me? I'm getting married.
You said you put it on layaway, and I was like, damn it, do not do this, Dan.
Joking.
Do not. I know you were.
I said, I'll go to Best Buy right now, and I'll put it on layaway.
but it was just like, I was sitting there, Ashley's like, who are you texting? I was like, I'm talking Dan, I have a dumb decision. Like, I was very passionately throwing my thumbs down.
Dude, I'm getting married in October, and I'm like saving up for like my house and stuff like that. Christian would kick my ass if I went out and bought a VR Rift for $400. Yeah. I even just joked with her.
If you came home with a Vive, you'd be.
I even joked with her last night, and it was like, hey, I bought this, and she was ready to kill me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the look she gave me, it was like, dude, are you serious? Like,
other,
you know we're getting married.
The other part of all of this too is like you gotta have a room big enough for this. So it's just
not for the Rift. For the Vive though, that's the better one. You want to have the room.
But yeah, and because it's better. I don't know. It's just it comes down to it's just asking a lot. You have to have a room for it. You have to have at least some room to stand and to move or to do something. Yeah. It's just.
It's a sweet concept. It just needs more time.
Yeah, it's just looking. If we're going like I think PlayStation VR came out in like August, September of last year, 2016. Like yeah. If we're looking at it year in review,
very hard to find too.
Year in review, can't find the headsets. Not a ton of games. I don't think, in my opinion, took a lot of market share away from the HTC or the Vive or the HTC Vive or the Rift. But then you look at the Rift and the HTC Vive, and you're just like, but you guys haven't done anything either. And it begs the question: why is it stagnant? Why is it why does it feel stagnant? Why did two people who pay so close attention to the game industry just kind of go, I still don't know about VR. Like, I feel like there's definitely a marketing issue. There's a communication issue about where VR is.
Well, you know what's funny is I was reading a quote from a developer who develops in VR, and he was saying it's frustrating for him as a developer for virtual reality is that most of the time you're not getting like real reviews of VR. It's like people who don't really play VR and like websites that are not dedicated to VR.
Yeah.
So like for example like IGN or your GameSpot.
People don't understand it.
And they'll basically shred every review about something VR because they're not as
play as smooth as a regular.
They're not as used to like how it works.
They're not adjusting.
They say they rip it to shred without actually even knowing how it really works. And I completely understand where like from a developer standpoint why you get frustrated because you're taking all these resources, you're taking all this time and money to put into this. On top of doing all of that, you have like people who are just shredding like your product in a review because they don't understand how VR works to begin with. And I think, like you said, the biggest problem is it's a lack of marketing. It's a lack of information being placed out there for the consumer to have. Yeah. Just because.
When's the last time you saw a VR commercial?
Never. Oh, I don't even know. I don't even know if I've even seen any. I might have, but nothing comes to mind. And I think that's the issue is that I don't think the industry is confident in VR because you don't see it being marketed as much.
Well, okay, and to be the devil's advocate of it's being marketed wrong or it's not being marketed as much, it's so hard to market VR. Yeah. It is so hard to put somebody in those shoes.
They show those trailers. They're like, here you go, like, check it out. And then, like, and I think I told you, what pisses me off when I see these stupid trailers when they do this is that they'll show, like, the world around the player, and they'll show the player with the stupid headset on. It's like, that's not what the game looks like when you're inside it. Show me a first-person view of what the camera sees, what they see when they look down, when they have their hands up. Or at least do, like, picture-in-picture, right? Like, some of my favorite gameplay videos for HTC Vive shooter side, or it's not side-by-side, but in the little corner, you see the person. Yeah, right? It's cool. You see them in real life, and then in the game you see what they're doing. So if you want to look, like how they're exactly. If you want to look like how they're drawing their bow or how they're shooting your gun, you can see how that action is playing out in real life. But then you also get to watch the gameplay at the same time. Yeah. And I think from like a Let's Play standpoint or things like that, like if we're able to share those experiences as gamers, as YouTubers, as people who maybe are early adopters, then like how can these companies not find a way to progressively do that? Or it's just like you look at GameStops and Best Buys and things like that, and you're like, we still have this brick and mortar, and the one thing you can do with these brick and mortar stores that you can't do anymore is control the message. Or you can't do with your games anymore because they're digital. People have 110 different places to buy them. Go on Amazon, this or that, different deals, different loyalties. You can buy digital versions of every game.
But VR, you want to try it before you buy it, and if there are not places to try it, then how are you going to convince people that? And I understand it's costly. But every GameStop, every place needs to at least have a community day, a visit, a tour. They tried to tour these things, and I'm sure it's hard to tour. I'm sure it's expensive.
Did that before,
but you have to show these people these things.
They did that before, didn't they? Where they had you could come in and try out the Rift at a GameStop before, but that was only for less than a month. I think they did that.
Yeah. Or it's like you could go to Best Buy and play PlayStation VR.
Yeah, I went in. So I was actually kind of like a little frustrated. I went into a Best Buy about a week or two ago, and I was like, "Cool, like PSVR, let's go take a look at it." And it's not there. And they have the picture for it. It's what's really sad is that it basically had this big old banner that wraps around the entire bottom part, under the controllers, where I feel like the VR would be right there, and it's not. And it says PlayStation VR. Ask a specialist. Okay,
Okay, let's ask a specialist.
Let's put it on so I can try
we don't have it. We don't have it.
They're like,
Sorry,
we
don't have a
so
way
I'm
to
like,
demo
this is pointless.
It's like it's more important to demo that than it is the actual console. Like you got all these little like, oh, please play
because people know if people are gonna buy PlayStation, they're gonna buy it. Like they know the games are there. Like most people who buy consoles kind of already know what they're looking for.
Their friends have already told them what to buy. It's hard to persuade them the other way.
And VR is the one place to where that's when you're gonna see people who really want to do are gonna do the research. They're gonna say, look, what's better? Do I really want room scaling? Or am I okay with going with the cheaper cost of the Vive for less games and for a company that doesn't seem like they might have a really good feel?
Cheaper cost of the Rift. You said Vive, yeah. But
I meant to say Rift. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, the Rift, to where like maybe they don't feel super confident in it, and that's why they're lowering the price because they're not really moving a lot of like units, and they want to be able to do that now.
Well, and I think it's also important to note that like Oculus's focus may not forever be games.
I don't think it will be.
I think Facebook's acquisition of Oculus was probably the most telling thing about of why, in my opinion, Oculus was not going to take off the ground in the direction that I wanted it to. I think Oculus is still going to do amazing and very cool things with the VR space, interactivity, and how we socialize. Using Facebook and those platforms, but I don't think it's going to be the shining gamer headset that we want it to be.
I feel like they're going to go more of the augmented reality push, kind of like how Microsoft's doing with the HoloLens.
Well, Microsoft and Apple both are doing really great pushes with, built into their devices. And so I think it's important to note, like, what other people are doing with mobile phones, what other people are doing with tablets. And it's almost like those augmented reality is almost in a way kind of cooler than VR because it's on the go.
It is, yeah. That's a huge thing.
You don't need to buy another headset to have augmented reality.
Like AR versus VR, AR is a lot cheaper to be able to produce too, because that way you can just put it in like a space that people can see with their eyes, or they can see with their phone.
Pokemon Go is a great example.
Yeah, Pokemon Go was the best. I mean,
battery drainer if you keep AR.
But think about how many times we saw pictures of like people like saying like, oh man, like I caught like a magic carp and he was like on someone's plate at a sushi restaurant. Like just be able to
when they had Pokemon in the strip club.
Oh my god, yeah. So like that concept though of being able to have that, like put that there is really cool, and I just feel like because Facebook owns, since they own Oculus, I feel like they're gonna go more the AR route for like how they interact Facebook with VR, for example.
Yeah.
People are making jokes. Like I remember I was reading comments in Kotaku where most people were saying the only industry that's really going to benefit from VR is porn. Yeah, porn. So I thought it was funny because I'm like, dude, like I hear a lot of people talk about that too.
We need porn makers to start funding these games because they're like, you guys don't know what you're doing. We know what we're doing. But it is.
And then the moment that happens, you're gonna be like headlines like VR sales 200% increase.
Yeah. Or it's like I guess like
200% increase.
That's what everybody really bought their Oculus for.
Right. Hey, we know you wanted the $400 porn experience. Don't lie.
I mean, really, the cheapest VR porn experience you can get is Google Cardboard, but just slide your phone in there, just.
Oh my god, it's terrible.
But yeah, I just. How do I want to just like wrap up my final thoughts on this? I think VR is really cool. I think it has a place in this world.
It has a lot of potential.
I think
untapped potential.
I think like a lot of times gamers get tested as the early adopters for things. Like if you think back to how you saved your games on Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1.
Oh man.
Those were essentially, we were the early adopters of flash memory. Think about it. So that got tested on us. They'd see how much we were willing to pay, which is like $40 for like 20 megabytes on it. It makes me ill how much money we'd spend on those things.
Hold on. Dude, I literally if I push, I probably could puke all over his face. $40 for a cartridge. Memory cards.
So we're like often the early adopters of technology, and so sometimes they go, the only way we're going to get this into people's hands if we make it a gaming thing. And I don't think that is VR's highlight.
I don't think that's the way to push it.
I don't think VR thrives on just games. I think VR has to be more of a media push. I think I am so excited for the day that I can watch a movie in VR where I will be able to watch that movie 10 times, and each time will be different because I chose to look at a different character, a different part of that room.
See, that would be cool to me.
But how do you make that look not bad? How do you film that? Like, we're getting, 360 cameras are cool, but you still, that camera sits on a tripod. If you look down, it breaks the immersion.
Yeah.
How do we get past that? That's what I'm interested in. Is that augmented reality? How do we go down that road?
I think I can figure this out.
You can start watching VR movies and turn your head, and that changes if you saw that the gun was on the table and you can solve the murder mystery before anybody else because you were looking at the right spot, the right time.
Get me really excited because that sounds really cool.
Exactly. That kind of experience, I'm thrilled.
And
if we can get that in games, because I feel like that's the thing right now, is that if anything, we need to make games that are these more interactive storytelling experiences and not games themselves.
Kind of like something along the lines of like Everyone's Gone to the Rapture.
Everyone's Gone to the Rapture. Vanishing Ethan Carter.
Where's Edith Finch, or I think you mentioned
Edith Finch,
like interactive
Gone
storytelling.
Home. Yeah, those are the games that I want more of, and those are the games that we need to push real budgets behind, where you can play like maybe 4 different sessions of an hour long. It's like a 4-hour story,
type of, like, experience every time.
Exactly, or it's just like Until Dawn. Like, imagine if that was a fully fledged out VR game.
Man. Dude, okay, well, first I want to play because I'd probably like piss my pants. It'd be so freaky.
Yeah, but just
I'd be like,
with all the different ways that
though.
story turns with your decisions, and if you were walking in it wearing that headset and being so actively immersed in it, like, that would have been an amazing experience. And so I am excited for the potential.
Be the player hiding behind like the thing before you get murdered.
Yeah.
It'd be really fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for the potential. I
got
think we've seen the proof of concept, right? But it's not enough for me. It's still not enough where I'm going to pull the trigger. I had an Oculus pre-ordered, and canceling that pre-order was probably one of the best decisions I ever made for my budget and for my gaming setup.
$600 with no touch controllers. That would suck. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think it has a future, but I think it needs to be diversified.
No, I totally agree with you. I think that's where it's lacking, is that the support for VR is lacking, and in order to overcome that, they're gonna have to put a lot of it. They have to invest a lot more into it. But like touching on movies, how you said, the movies I think that would really benefit from VR would be more like animated films, so like Disney animated or like Pixar, DreamWorks, because that way they can animate the entire space. And that way you're not beholden to like the camera pod, like tripod stuff, so you can look down and be like, oh my god,
well, yeah, just like we said with games and stuff. Yeah.
So I think that'd be really cool, especially seeing an animated film. So like if I can watch Big Hero 6 and it looks like I'm flying through the air behind Baymax. Yeah. And like when they're flying up through San Fran, Tokyo, and you look around, like you can see like the San Fran Tokyo Bridge, which is like the Golden Gate Bridge, of course. Yeah. You get to look and see that, and like they're flipping through the air, and you get to do that too. But like you get to almost like you're flying next to them. That'd be nasty. I think that'd be the coolest experience ever.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm just looking for that immersion, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean,
I think we all just want to have a great experience.
Yeah, that's what the entertainment is for. I mean, we play games because we want to get immersed into it. We would buy VR because we want to get immersed. When you go to IMAX, you don't pay the extra money for IMAX because you want to have a bigger picture. You want that sound to hit you in the chest. You want everything to be popping out at you. You want it to feel as real as possible being in the situation.
And I also want my concessions to be delivered to my assigned seat.
Okay, Imagine Theater.
Hey, man, that was comfy.
Aaron
passed out.
I don't think they do that at... Aaron passed out. I hope he's watching so we can hear that, too.
No, Game of Thrones started, 7 minutes
Game
ago.
of Thrones started, so you probably not.
So anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up the show. I appreciate everybody who tuned in, commented, allowed us to have something.
We had a lot of fun today, everyone.
We did have a lot of fun. If you guys enjoyed watching this, please be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and click on the notification so you can know when we go live on Sundays. We're trying to get it as consistent as a time as possible, but me and Dan both work retail, and sometimes it's hard to know the exact time we're going to get out on a Sunday night. We tried to get it, on around 7 o'clock. We got it close to 7:30, but it's just right now it's at a point where we cannot say the exact time on Sundays it's going to start. So if you'd like to know when it's going to start, be sure to hit that notification button when you subscribe to the channel.
Yeah. We're mainly trying to push like 7:30 because that's a really good sweet spot.
It's a good window there.
We can get done just around 9 and everything. It's just that with Sunday, sometimes I work till 6:30, sometimes I work till 7. And days like today where I went a little bit over my time today, like I ended up getting out later after 7, so we didn't get to start at 7:30 like I wanted us to.
But, another way you can keep up with us, though, is by joining the Discord chat and interact with us throughout the week. And better yet, you can help contribute to the topics of the show.
Yeah, the Discord chat's actually, I think it's probably what I'm most excited for, because since I don't do Twitter, that's the way I can directly interact with everybody, too. So
that's going to be in the description below.
Call me a nerd with my persona picture as my profile picture rather than me.
And like I said at the top of the show, we are doing video breakouts of all the different segments that we did in the show. So if you guys missed something, or you just don't want to watch the full podcast, but you want to see kind of the topics we addressed and talked about, that's what that's here for.
So if you're a fan of Cuphead, you can hear how Kyle and I talked about Cuphead last week, which is like a super cool hand-drawn animated game exclusive to Xbox. Exclusive to Xbox.
As it should be.
As it should be.
And then, of course, you can always reach out to us at... What? Oh.
I actually almost forgot. Before Kyle finishes that, one thing that we didn't touch on as a quick thing was net neutrality. And I want to explain why. So they had a huge protest on July the 12th. There's not a lot of information that came out of it. A lot of it is more just like lawmakers and people within Congress and senators and congressmen.
All the political rigmarole.
Basically arguing over what they should do with net neutrality, and then if so-and-so, like if the FCC rolls this back, we're going to push it to court to defend the internet under like the First Amendment for like expression with people using their internet and whatnot. So we'll touch on it as more information becomes available. Right now it's kind of like a he said, she said, or they said, you know, this side says this side says this. So there's not a lot of definitive answers on whether or not we got our net neutrality rolled back or if we're still protected by it. It's all still in talks right now. It's going to be a really hotly debated item that, you know, Kyle and myself will continue to follow. And as more becomes available, we'll update everyone as we keep going too.
Yeah. And what I was saying, though, is you can always, too, if you don't want to use Discord, you don't use Twitter, you don't want to subscribe, I really don't know what you're doing in 2017 at that point, but that's fine. You can always reach out to us at Project Forge Productions, or projectforgeproductions@gmail.com with any questions, corrections of maybe something we talked about, disagreements, or ideas. Potentially, if you want to be a guest on the show, that's an option too. That would be the channel to go through to start discussing with us how you can Skype in or join the conversation in a way. So we'll
put like the email like in the description so people can like copy and paste or whatever.
Exactly. So
that we don't have to go off of like guessing how we spell.
If you are an audio listener only at this point,
Thank you for listening to the podcast.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. Awesome. At this point, I tell you to go check out the YouTube channel if you want to see all the extra stuff of us interacting with the chat feed that we got during the show. So with that, we will end the show. Thank you for listening. You guys have a great rest of your night.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good rest of your night. Enjoy Game of Thrones if you're watching.
All right, chat. What did you guys have to tell us today?
Yeah, good.
So Jeff talking about Game of Thrones. He's like, "Wait, you're not gonna watch Game of Thrones?"
I'm gonna watch it. I got it. I got it on DVR.
Miss you, Jeff.
Yeah, I do miss Jeff. Especially all of our theories of R plus A equals J. No, it's R plus L equals J.
Is this who? Do you know who that is? Hello Moto?
I don't know. No, these are probably.
It looks like they might have
known. Dan, what is you doing, Dan? Oh God, how did I get here? I'm not good with computers.
Yeah, we know, Jeff.
No, you know, like some people might be some of my buddies that I play like PSN with and stuff. Like when we get together and play Destiny, which I'm really stoked about because that's what we're gonna be doing on Tuesday with the beta dropping, which I didn't talk about at all in the stream tonight.
That's okay.
It's okay though. I didn't mean. I mean, come on, dude. It's a
Bloopers.
beta. It's a beta. You know, it's something to get excited. It's not like you're fully releasing the game or anything.
No,
so
we'll definitely, but we'll have some stuff. You know, it'll be nice. Is next week we'll be in that beta. We'll play it. We'll have some things to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
So. All right. I didn't know if this puke face was because I was chugging some PBRs through this, but I will always run PBR for life or represent. You know, humble beginnings.
Yeah, I like who's that? Gromquads TV. I am not a beer pong master, and I'd never won any tournament at a bar.
But
I wish I could say I did. That'd be pretty sweet. But
I'm won a beer pong tournament, but not at a bar. It was just a garage one.
Okay, you know the only like tournament I've actually won was when I used to play Gears of War back in high school. That was about it. That's about as far as I really got with it.
Nerdy Sean showing some love.
Yeah,
for,
man.
I don't know.
I don't know him. I don't know him, but I always see he's like chatting with you, or you guys are talking smack to each other in the Discord channel.
He's my Counter-Strike boy. He's actually been with Project Forge since the earliest of beginnings. He was in our Twitch chat correcting our mic issue. Nice. He's basically just there to tell us how bad we were at what we were doing, but he would always show up, and he'd be like our one lonely viewer for the longest time. So he's been there from the beginning when we had no subscribers. So it's been really great to see him still pop into the chat every time.
It's cool.
Giving some shout outs.
I definitely love seeing some of that love.
Yeah. I love how like you know, I love that your name's Dan, so people can be like, Dan is the man.
Danny boy, like, you know.
Dan, what did you do, baby?
Yeah, Dan, baby, what did you doing?
It just fits. And then, of course, thank you to Papa Forge, the daddy
Seth.
who made it all happen.
Saying no one likes Destiny. I mean, that could be debated,
Seth,
but Destiny 2 better be good or I'm going to be very pissed off, Bungie. You better make it good. That's all I'm going to say.
But of course, Seth contributing some points to the VR conversation as somebody who is a founding father of Project Forge. He knows how I think. He knows how to challenge me, and he can get me pretty riled up, too. So, I can't wait to have Seth soon in here. And maybe we can Skype him in next week.
I think we should.
Yeah,
I think it'd be awesome.
We definitely need to organize with Seth and get a third voice
like
on
the
this.
first time I ever talked to Seth was last week.
Yeah.
So
and
it was
what
really
were
cool.
we debating in that?
I don't think we were debating anything. We were just talking. You guys were helping me figure out my.
We were fixing your.
My Ethernet controller went out on my PC, so Seth was helping me figure it out.
Yeah.
And then when I ended up finding, I told him exactly what the model number was to search, and he didn't find it. And then I found it instantly. He's like, "Why the hell?
Why did you have me do this if you were?"
I was like, because I can't get on the network. It's not loading. And then all of a sudden it worked. I was able to the Wi-Fi kicked in because where I'm at in my house. My Wi-Fi card is trash. No, I'm right underneath it, but it gets a terrible signal through the floor.
Yeah, it's the floor, bro.
So I ended up getting lucky.
He's like four people like Destiny. I know one of them. I know 25% of the population that likes Destiny.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, but Seth, I'm excited for Destiny too.
I'm
gonna play.
too.
I need to find a way to get a beta code. I need to find a way to get a beta code because I don't have one right now.
Yeah. I don't know if sometimes they give you friend invites if they do.
I'm just gonna go to GameStop.
No, it's open. It opens up on the 21st.
Okay, but
it's
I want to play. No.
You want to play early?
I don't wait till it's open to peasants. All right,
yeah, it's closed on PlayStation starting the 18th to the 20th or the 21st. I think it's 3 days.
Seth, is that next Sunday you'd be able to record after?
Yeah, so I mean, we could, theoretically we could start and then just bring them in through Skype, couldn't we? Or we have to wait to start?
I would probably prefer to wait
just
to
make
start,
sure there's
just
no
so
problems.
I can make sure the formatting, the audio, and all that, so we can work through any of the kinks of having him join in.
You are the worst, Dan. Yeah, I know.
It'll be pretty funny having Seth in though and going through that.
No, I look forward to it. I want to be able to do more.
Jan, he has a friend named Jordan who really likes Destiny.
Oh, okay.
That was buying in India, so we know 2 of the 4 people.
So we're at 50%.
50%.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you two other people I know who do is Jake.
Yeah.
Zach from work because he knows people from Bungie.
Yep. Oh, of course. Yeah. Zach is super into it.
Yeah, he knows people from. And Morrison, when he worked with us,
2 guys that live in their mom's face. He's calling you. Shots fired.
Okay. Disclaimer. I'm at my parents right now just because I'm saving up for my house. Open betas are for poor people. That's why I got my closed beta.
That's why I said. I'm gonna wait. I'm not gonna wait till the peasants get it.
I always forget that it's a couple seconds delayed, so I'm responding to it after I'm talking all this other stuff, and then I'm like, wait, what were we talking about for a second?
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I got my closed beta code, or not the closed, but I got my beta code from when I pre-ordered the limited edition the day they announced it. Which is pretty cool.
Well, I think we've properly addressed all the chat conversation and some.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think it's time to end this beautiful, beautiful show called the KHAOS officially on the YouTube side, since we already technically ended the audio side. I always have an opinion.
Show.
Wait till we get popular enough to where we can talk about anything.
I'm just looking
and then we're just gonna get SJWs in the comments.
Okay, listen, just because you said SJWs in the comments, you're gonna get people riled up already.
I know. They're like, what's wrong with being an SJW? Nothing. I didn't say anything was wrong. You just assumed.
They're gonna be like,
did you just assume
Kyle,
my stance
you just
on
said SJW, I'm triggered. Trigger warning. Okay, listen, we're gonna flash trigger warning at the beginning of every episode.
I'll literally have a way to click it on a
just keep flashing it real quick. So it's you have to put it.
All right,
turn off your screen if you have epilepsy.
I'm really pissed. I went through all this work to set up the bot before we started with all these things. The bot did nothing. You lazy people. The fucking
this mother effer.
Piece of shit.
Use your Nightbot commands. Well, Nightbot says we'll do it in Discord. Why is it not doing it while we're... Watch, Seth is listening right now and he's laughing at us. He's like, you guys are idiots.
I didn't do the next step. Oh, what an idiot. I was supposed to add it as an authorized mod.
It looks so Jordan, Jake, Zach, and Dan. That's so good, Seth.
All right,
That's
well,
awesome.
next week we'll flow a little bit better because the bot will actually be telling the chat. Sorry, we're not. Because I feel like this happens. We're losing part of the chat because they're like, oh, you're not talking to us, and it's not that. And I want if there was only a way to tell them that without making it seem like we're breaking the continuity. So that's what I was really hoping the bot would help with that. That's why I was gonna
triggered.
I am offended.
But yeah, that like you said, so that way we'll actually.
Yeah, I wanted to have the bot like every 10 minutes be like, we're not ignoring you, trust me, because like I think it's really cool that we can stay live for a little bit more, interact with the chat, anybody who's still hanging on, or just have that kind of casual conversation. Yeah. And I don't like it's really annoying to go. And Frocore said, "I am offended," and then we like just having to repeat the username. And it's just,
like you said, it breaks.
If
continuity.
You're not streaming,
it breaks continuity for the podcast.
Right.
Like, I mean,
robot does what robot wants.
Of course, we could do like normal type of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like we could do
like a normal regular talk show interaction with the stream.
Like when we stream normally, like when we're web streaming.
But I want to save that
because people will know what we're doing.
Yeah, like when we're doing Let's Plays or live Let's Plays and things like that. Yeah, there we go. That's what the bot was supposed to do. Every 10 minutes, the bot was supposed to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. So but like you're saying, like it's much easier for when a Nightbot works now. Yeah. We don't want to break continuity. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Because if, like you're saying, like, Frocore says, like, I am offended, people are going to be like, who the F is Frocore?
Right.
Like, no one's going to know.
Yeah. Or it's like, it's one of those things if you...
Seth, you're killing me. I'm getting slain right now.
And there is a part, even when you're live streaming, where you still have to read what the chat is saying to a degree, so you can be like, somebody just said, like, you're horrible, stupid bot, piece of shit. Your face breaks continuity. Like people can get us, but it's just one of those things. Like I really appreciate the input though, and I think if you're watching to this point in the video, where I'll just post. What I'll do is on Saturdays I'll post the end part.
Oh, like
so
the
it's
outtakes?
like so we'll cut out. We'll cut the on the radar for Monday, then topics 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the rest of the week, and then Saturday can be like the fun outtakes.
Sure.
And then when we want to get into it, we can maybe be like, oh, do you have Patreon? Because that's the only way you're gonna watch the outtakes. You gotta give us that money. I'm just kidding, but
so the only way you're watching the outtakes.
I love how Nightbot is working to a T the way I want it to now. Because all I had to do is click one thing.
Smash that like button, pet your dog, who knows? Just enjoy that. Just enjoy life. Yeah, man.
Yeah, but it's like everybody knows who I am. I'm the shit.
I'm the shit.
I'm Papa Forge, bitches. All right, well, Dan's got to get home.
Christian was watching it. Thanks, honey.
Oh, was Christian?
Yeah, she just commented. She goes, VR porn would ruin everyone.
I feel
it's so, hey, dude, okay. Like, you know when you watch WALL-E, you see
like
all the chubby
the
people
movie.
like stuck in like the chairs and like they're like watching like videos or whatever and they're so busy. That'd be people stuck in VR porn. They'd be like in their like little floating chairs taking them through life. No one knows what anyone's watching in their VR porn. They're just stuck. That'd be such a terrible like dystopian future.
What if your VR porn was watching somebody watch VR porn?
That'd be so creepy. It's like someone's watching you watching it. It's like Twilight Zone.
You're like my kink is watching somebody get off watching VR porn. It's what?
That's just weird.
Why? All right, I think we're getting a little too crazy here. I think it's time to end it. It's not Nightbot. It's not a Shovel Nightbot. It's just a Nightbot. Like night.
Right.
Night, bitches.
Yeah, for real though. Everyone
all right,
watch,
guys.
so thank you.
Thank you for watching. Have a great night.